Yeah, so we were discussing in the last video that you were working with some of Pharoah Sanders' producers and that they're putting on some live dates and they called you to do it. We discussed the one that you did in Brooklyn, and then you had the opportunity to go to Europe and do 3 dates. And I was wondering if you can talk a little bit about that and your experience.
The European visit was a successful visit. The people loved the music. They were thrilled by the music. The music was exciting. And at times we had various sizes of bands, because sometimes we had as many as 17 players on the bandstand with us in a small group. So it was a pretty fruitful experience, and the music was sweet, was intense and real, free, creative, open. So it was true to Pharoah's style of playing. So it's true in that sense to Pharoah's music, so where we just get together and play, and just whatever happens is the best of what happens. So it was a great opportunity.
And how did it feel being able to be in Europe, and in terms of the energy there and difference between that and the US?
It was safer. It was calmer in Europe. I felt a more relaxed atmosphere. People were more at peace with the social experience generally. So it was a remarkable difference for me to feel that energy there. People were less stressed out, less paranoid, less concerned, less frightened. And so that was a big difference. So it was sweeter, in a sense. And I found it easier to play there in a degree, but people needed to hear the music. So there was a difference. And I still felt, because of what was going on with the Pharoah music, that Pharoah's presence was strong. Right? The music was strong. It was truly Pharoah-esque in nature and in spirit, and all the guys respected that. So it was really about presenting the world in European terms, right, with the presence of Pharoah Sanders through his music, and then through our playing, which also expressed our love for Pharoah. And there's a lot to be said about that. His contribution, sweetness, love of beauty, subtleness, peacefulness, and then ferocity on the other end. That was like second to none when he had to state that part of his nature. So.
So one of the main reasons it seems that the Pharoah Sanders producers, they're running the Luwaka Bop label, that they got in touch with you and wanted you to be a part of the live Pharoah experience, was because you were one of the last members of the band. So how does that feel?
I am the last one.
Right.
It's not that there are other members. Everybody's gone. I'm the only living representative of that situation that I know of, right? In terms of player.
In terms of that album.
That album especially, yeah, the Pharoah album, yeah, great album. It represents some of the more spiritual, gospelic jazz that Pharoah was capable of singing and playing in his way, without overblowing, the more gentle side of his expression. So it's a unique record. It's got an eternal value, if you ask me. So it was good being there, and the people appreciated the fact that I was the last one standing, because I think some of them were moved to bring me questions that seemed to, I guess what they justify curiosity. So, how did it feel to be playing with Pharoah? What did he like to eat? Was he a vegetarian? And so on. Yeah.
And you were close with Pharoah, so you would be one that knows that.
Yeah, we ate. He was sort of vegetarian. I think he liked his fish too. But he enjoyed the vegetarian. He knew you had to eat right in order to be right. So he had that down. He was pretty straight up about that. Right. So, any other questions?
And then in terms of, there were a few press articles that seemed to be highlighting your relationship. I know there was one in Downbeat. Do you feel like anybody came out to those gigs because of any kind of press-related stuff, or?
I believe so. I believe so. In fact, in Europe, I had a visitation from a squad of Rakalam's people, like a contingent of his students had come over, if you can believe that. And it was, a happy moment, to hear. Say, Bapu, how you doing? And so, no, there were some bright moments. And then, because in that moment, I didn't feel I was in any country. I felt I was amongst friends and family in terms of the music. And you have these moments when you see how precious what you're doing is to people. It's crazy. It's so touching. See, just a melody, just a lyric, see, just a taste of the individual artist. It means so much to the people. So that was also part of the experience I had there, right? Playing the music, being present for the people, and speaking to them as if I really cared about being the only man standing, see, from the band. Right? And it's a sense of responsibility, right? And I'm ready to answer questions, because there's so much to say about it. That unless you ask, you never know, right? And also that the album reflected the times. What kind of times were those? See, that's also part of it, And each record comes out in its time, with its message for its audience. See? And that's the cycle of, let's say, creation working through the music and the project, in this case, called Pharoah. There were many others, but we went out into the European culture with that in mind. We were representing the Pharoah record, right, the one I was on as the original guitar player, and I was respected as such when I was there.
Yeah, and then so I was at the date in Brooklyn, the introduction to playing live, and you were playing with some younger players, and they seemed to have an openness to what you're doing, and they're looking to you.
Yeah, there was a guitar player there.
Yeah, that's true.
I asked for him to be there because I wasn't sure my left hand would be able to handle it. Mm-hmm. And he was very happy to hear me play, and I was very happy to hear him play. It was like mutual affection, man, We were like brothers on the bandstand, and he had his style, I had my style, or no style, my no style. Yeah, it was great fun, good.
Yeah. And then in Europe, you pretty much had a whole new cast, a rotating cast of maybe one or two of the players was the same, but you had a different cast of musicians. And
Well,
so how'd you find that?
Yeah, there were at times like 3 bands in one, 3 different bands, and the Luaka Bop people were completely open to that concept. That's Yale Evelyn was wide open about it. Come on in, sit in, play, join us, right? And so it's a beautiful demonstration of musical generosity, saying openness that I wasn't exactly used to. I was capable of course, but I wasn't used to that kind of, open carpet, to the public. Or at least certain other bands, for sure. So I'm sure the producer was talking to the band leaders in some way or other, or they had a representative of the Luakaba band talking to these people and setting them straight about what was going on and, how free they were to enter the band, support the music, and enjoy the experience, celebrate Pharoah's music. It's just a gift in itself, be able to play. And having known Pharoah and spent all those years with Pharoah, it was a big deal for me. It wasn't only refreshing, it was rejuvenating. It was so good and so right a thing to do, so, I was in heaven in a sense, Brother Pharoah, very spiritual experience. Appreciating it. I'm very grateful for that experience. Because I saw it help the people. I saw it enliven the people and awaken the people. See, lift the people up. See, made them happy. See, so there was a healing there as well. Mm-hmm.
And was there anything else peculiar about being the oldest musician there and playing with younger players?
Well, I didn't feel old, I felt great. But I was the elder. I think that's understood. I understood it. A lot of the guys who approached me understood it. And I encouraged them all to play, not to hesitate, to just express themselves, be free, be open, be happy to play. So just play, man, Because a few of the guys would come up to me and say, should they? Is it all right? And I said, man, let's let it rip, man. This is the opportunity. You're not just expressing yourself for this situation. This is going out to the world. This is your moment. Play it, as if you mean it, as if you care about it. Play it as if it's forever. And so I think that encouragement to certain players would seem to be a little bit, timid in a certain way, not sure, because it seemed like it was my band, but it wasn't. But, I was there as, Pharoah's partner from the old days, and so the guys were giving me respect, and I appreciated that, but I respected them just as much. We're all in it together. So be happy to play as Pharoah would have been, and would, I guess, encourage people and expect people to play, because that's what the opportunity is. Pharoah was about playing the music, not about, it's the word, hesitating to play. No, it's about expression, freely expressing the moment through your instrument, and the gratitude you have about that opportunity to play. play it with gratitude. Yeah, I think that's the attitude. Gratitude is the attitude.
So we know that jazz is popular in other places in the world. You know, Europe has its locations, and you know, yeah, different places over the world dig jazz. And so the places that you visited, do you feel like this was, you know, what you were doing when you were playing was standard, or was it something different than what they were used to?
I would say it was very different from what they were used to, because I was there. You know, just for one, I was there, and different people were there. We were playing the same piece of music, but you have different individuals. That changes the music. So, and I was encouraging, and I guess the other players in the band encouraged these guys who were coming in to sit in and participate, to play what they felt about it, and express their own gratitude about Pharoah and that level of music, which is different. It's not bebop. See, you're not bouncing along on bebop notes and scales. It had no rhythm such as that. See, it was like Pharoah's time, which had in this case, relative to that record, a certain kind of gospel sense to it, prayer form, right? It had like a sense of reverence in it, and that's not, you know, typical quality of jazz. You go to Berkeley and you hear them playing jazz, you know, they're bouncing all over the place. Settle down, people, right? Let it come from your soul. Know that you have a soul somewhere in there. Touch that. Bring it up. Share it with the people.
So when you mention these other styles of jazz, would you consider Pharoah was he much into bebop?
He was a bebopper. Yeah, he can play the bop. Yeah. Luwaka bop, right? Not even bebop. He's the Luwaka bebopper. Yeah, Pharoah had it down, man. Right? He hung in there with Train. You know, that wasn't for nothing. He was listening closely to Train and other masters. You know, he had studied. You know, he was listening. He was listening to me. He wanted to play my music. You can believe that. He used to tell me, I don't want to play my music. I want to play your music, Tisziji. I want to know what you're doing. I want to know you. I want to hear your music, right? To get into your mind, you know, your soul. You know, Pharoah was open like that, see. So he did the bebop. There's no question about it. He was very meticulous in his selection of notes. You know, he just had his style of it. But that night that we played in Europe, or those nights that we played in Europe, were not about bebop, right? It was a little bit more slowed down. It's not against bebop, but it wasn't a bebopish, let's say, opportunity. It was about long tones, let's say, feeling, emotion, right? Reverence, right? Reverential song, see? Right, and beauty. And there's no limits to what the guys could play if they were in the jam mode, all right, but fine. But if you think about Pharoah, you know, there was a certain sacred contact when you would hear Pharoah play. It was like it's coming from a deeper place, see. So the exploration and appreciation for the deeper place within the player is appropriate for those coming to hear the Pharoah recording, music that we played, and what that melodic style was touching upon. And I call it, you know, like a gospel reverence for sacred feelings. right? The inner spiritual. Say, no, that's my take on it, because, it's important to me, as it is. So there was that. So it's a good question. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, on the way out from Europe, I would say we left a lot of people happy. It was like crying happiness, right? Tears of happiness, fond remembrance of the sweetness of Pharoah. I knew the whole gamut of Pharoah, but the sweetness comes through the music and his tunes. See? Mm-hmm. We played music that was so fierce at times. It was unbelievable. Unbelievable. And I have the records to prove that. It's unbelievable stuff. And he loved the freedom that what I was doing was giving him and encouraging him to be, which for him was a rare experience. And I heard that from Max Gordon, the owner of the Vanguard. He would tell me that. I said, man, what you guys do is uncommon. See, we had a certain resonance, and we put it on record. Yeah. And we were able to do that with Ravi and with Rashid, among others. And so these are very sacred records that touch upon this level of inner expression. That was what John made a big deal about. See? The reverence of, let's say, the spiritual. See? And making sure that was included in the music, because why not? See? What could be better stated for the sake of helping the world than reverence for life and the spirit, soul of each being. That's what matters. Shoot.
Shoot.